All right, so let's go ahead and actually I'm going to edit this a little bit, this health here, and I'm going to update the health, the text here, so that when we do get a health pickup, it'll also do that. So let's go down to text here and just put a colon and then just type the number 100. And that looks pretty good. All right, so let's compile and save this. And let's jump over to our graph for a second. What I'd like to start off by doing is creating a custom event to affect whether or not, like, how our essentially our HUD updates. So I'm going to right-click and just type Add Custom, and you'll see here's Add Custom Event. I'm going to hold Control and scroll my wheel in. And this is going to be used for updating our health. Let's make sure I get let it update as I'm typing. Let's see, rename. And you could also hit F2 for that. Update health. All right, so in order to update our health, which is the text box here, we need to have some inputs. Now you'll notice if I select Update Health here, I can add an input that's going to appear down here. So if I click on this, and I can type in new health value, and it's going to be a float value. And notice that it updates it here, and this is going to, again, so we're just sort of creating these additional parameters on this input here. All right, so I want to drag in a reference to my health box so I can update the health value. So if you remember from one of the previous tutorials, this health box here, where it says text health 100, I'm going to name this health text box. And in order to get it to appear in our graph over here under variables, we have to tell it that we want it to be a variable. So now when I jump back to my graph, you can see my health box is here. Let's actually make sure that we make health text box. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. And health text box 100. And there it is, health text box. Then we have health box here, which it looks like, did I rename something? Yeah, here's our health box, which is updated. But here's the actual health text box. And so health box is essentially where we're storing our stuff. Okay, so let's go back into our graph editor here. Now, in order to grab that, you can either get it or set it. So if I hold Control and I drag it, that's the way we can get it. If we want to set a value to it, I can hold Alt and drag it out. And now you can see that we can set it, and then what are we setting it with? Well, nothing yet. So let's delete these for a second. All right, so let's do this. Let's set this. So I'm going to hold Control. Or I'm sorry, let's get this. Now, we have this, and what this is referring to is that text box from the previous scene. Now, what we can do is we can set that widget value over here. All right, so I'm going to drag this out, and I'm just going to type set text. Now, I'm going to move this up here because what I'm going to update. Now, I want you to pay attention to something because this gets a little nerve-wracking for people. This isn't actually doing anything yet. This is a custom event. We haven't said what it can really do. So that's what we're doing with this. So if I connect this here, so this is now, once we've started up, if we call this update health event, which we haven't done yet, it's going to set text. And we haven't said what we're going to set that text to. All right, so now there's something else that you need to understand. Okay, so we want to set this new health value that we're going to update in our scene to our text here. But this is a string value. See how I'm typing in here? So we need to convert it. We'll get more into conversions later, but what's really nice is notice that this is a float value, and if we scroll over this, this is a text value. If I connect it, what's cool about Unreal, or the Blueprint system within Unreal, is it'll actually guess what I'm trying to do. And what it's saying here is it's like, oh, I want to convert this text, this float value to text so that it appears on the screen for me. So it did that conversion for me, which is really nice. Now, if you come from a different programming language, you're probably wondering, well, how the heck are you going to add or edit this health 100? There's like a colon here, health colon. Well, back in our graph editor, we can actually use the, there's like, you normally write like plus append inside of your language. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this off, and I'm going to write append here. Oops, let's see. might have to kind of kill this lock. So I'm going to hold Alt to break that. And actually, let's just delete this out altogether. And if I drag this out and I type append, let's see. Oh, I think I have to write text append. Actually, I think I can just type it out here and it'll find it. Because it gets, here we go, append. This is what we're looking for. So if I connect this to here, this second value is going to be that numerical value that updates. So what we do here on this first one is I just write health and then space colon. And then what it'll do is it'll append health colon to this value that's going to get converted here. All right, let's plug this into here. Let's kind of move this out here. We really should comment, and I haven't talked much about commenting, but we'll break that up in a second. So let's kind of bring this here. It's looking a little bit cleaner. So in order to put a comment on this is, I'm just going to highlight this and hit C, and then this BP is how we are updating our health system. And I'm actually thinking about this now, and here's our character. I'm thinking the health should really just be above the player's head or something, the amount of health or ammo that they have above them. And let's take a look at how we would do that. So if I double click my HUD widget here, and I go back to that graph, let's see. Let's see, if we press play, we have it up here. And you know what? Let's go to here. I'm going to type in map, or mode rather. I'm just going to go into this third person mode here. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to hit Control X, save that. Now, whenever my third person character spawns, down here, let's paste that here. And I'm going to save this. Let me go ahead and also comment this. This displays our HUD to the screen. All right, now what I'm going to do is just get rid of this set HUD, and I'm just going to connect this to the add to viewport. So this is sort of another way of doing it. Let's see if this works if we compile and save. I'm just going to jump over and press play. You can see now it appears and it's connected to our player instead of in our overall scene. All right, now the last thing I'm going to do, let's go back in here. We do need a variable in here so that we can update like our player's HUD reference. So I'm going to drag this out. I'm going to do the same thing as before, where I promote it to variable where it appears here, and I'm going to name it player UI ref because this is a reference to that. Then I'm going to set this here and then drag this out here. And the target here, boom. And let's break that actually and reconnect it here. Now this variable here, we shouldn't get any errors. And this is the one that we're going to be using to send stuff to the viewport as we pick up our health objects. Now something else I want to just kind of point out, and then I'll wrap up this tutorial in a bit, is remember I mentioned having a function as a reusable block of code? Well, we're always going to want to update this UI based on the calling of a function, right? So let's go ahead and create a new function here, and we're just going to call it update player UI. Notice it changed the name here. And what I'm going to do is we created this variable, which if you remember in here, we can use this variable to update the player UI reference, right? That's like to this HUD, and it's going to send data to our viewport. So back in here, I'm just going to hold Control and drag this out so we get a reference to that. Now let's drag this out, and we're going to look for update health, which is there. And so this is the new health value. Now you might be wondering, where did that update health come from? So if we go back to our HUD widget here, what we're doing is we're updating the, let's go to our graph for a second, this update health method that we created. You remember this custom event? We're actually calling this custom event from our third person character function here. So I know that might seem, I would redo this tutorial again if you're still a little bit confused on the process that we went through. But this is essentially a reference to our HUD widgets update health custom event we created, that all it does is, if you remember, it's just updating this information. We have not done anything where we've walked over any health blocks to update this value.